Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Mary.
Mary. It happened. Nonsense came back.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. The nonsense, the split vote nonsense. So you and I have been talking about since they started this back in, I think, season 41.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about, Wesley. They have never done this before.
This is new and dangerous.
Yes, this is completely new. It's never happened.
It's so dangerous. Tuku basically had a tribal council, Mary.
Yeah, that's what happened.
A post-merge Tuku tribal council. And the third place challenge person got individual immunity with the necklace around their neck and a ceremony and everything.
Yeah, that's basically it.
What'd you think about the episode?
The worst one of the season so far, I think.
Wow, really?
Yes. Well, okay, first of all, it was really predictable. I mean, we knew that this twist was probably coming based on just promotional stuff and Next Time on Survivor. So that was already like, really? So you go into the episode thinking...
We were dreading it.
Yeah, really? And then it didn't take long to get to that, which was fine. But even once they're split up in the tribes, it's like, okay, well, clearly... Yellow looks kind of stacked. So blue's probably going to go, oh, look, it's just Tuku and Rachel. So like everything was very predictable the whole time, except for Saul finding that advantage. But then again, it's just like, really? Because obviously, what's he going to do with it? Give it to Gabe? No, he's going to give it to Rachel. So like that was obvious. It was obvious what Rachel was going to do. It was obvious that Tiana was probably going home. So yeah, it was just so predictable. And so therefore I did not enjoy it that much. And then obviously the twist, it just like makes me a little angry.
When I was recording with Rebecca yesterday, I described it as like Survivor production had their hands too far in the cookie jar. Like, how are the players supposed to get their own cookies when you're in the cookie jar canning out the cookies? And that's probably a bad way of describing it. So here's a better way. It's just, it was overproduced.
Yes.
It was designed top to bottom by production.
Mm-hmm.
It was manufactured drama.
Yes.
It was not natural. Natural drama was building. We saw that in the before challenge stuff when Andy wants to flip on Gata and Genevieve's there and everything. What about Genevieve when they were there?
This could have been a much more interesting episode. And like, I get it. So this is a game that you signed up for. You understand that twists and things are going to happen. Like the whole thing is a production put on for TV. And I get that.
It is a TV show first. This is true.
So like me as a contestant though, if I had been Rachel, and that had happened, I would be like...
If I had been Tiana.
Sure. If I'd been Tiana, I would have been furious. Just because of, like, you go all of a sudden from, 12 people being available to vote for, besides whoever wins immunity, to 5 people being available to vote for. And then you give them the advantage, and then it's only 4 people available to vote for. And it's just like...
8 out of 12 were immune last night.
Mind-boggling to me that this is even happening before there's a real merge. Like, I don't know. I was really frustrated. You're
frustrated. I'm frustrated. I believe our frustration stems from we know what Survivor looks like post-merge when they just let them play.
Yeah. Because
it's usually good.
This can be interesting. People still have grudges. Yeah. People will do strategy. You don't have to like baby them all the time into like, let's make sure, not that they made sure Tuku went to travel, but you know what I mean? Like this, you're exactly what you're saying. It was so produced. It just felt so restrained. Yeah.
Keep in mind, Mary, that theoretically, this episode, there could have been nobody voted off. And here's how. 8 out of 12 people were safe because of 6 people getting immunity. Kyle got 3rd place. Therefore, he gets individual immunity, as it does every week when somebody gets 3rd place in the individual immunity challenge. He gets immunity. And then that's 8 out of 12. It's because Rachel gets safety without power. Which was an advantage introduced in this episode. For this episode, it could only be used in this episode. As far as I'm aware, it didn't say, I mean, maybe she could have held on to it.
No, it said it's for this tribal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's manufactured for this episode. Now, there were also 3 beware advantages given out prior that, sure, nobody actually ended up making them into full idols, but there could have been 3 full idols available here as well from the 3 individual tribes. Saying. So that theoretically, again, could have been, 8 plus 3, 11 people out of the 12 safe. And then if for some godforsaken reason, all 3 amulets were combined to save the 12th person, we could have had nobody gone this week. Also, Sue has an immunity idol, and I know we're going to talk about that. I know that's just, but that's just a replacement for one of the beware as far as I know. because Gabe burned his idol and Sue found a hidden immunity idol.
Right.
So point being is that there are so many advantages that could have made this episode a true nothing burger. Like, truly nothing could have happened this episode because of all the advantages that they manufactured and threw into the game. And we say this out of frustration. Just let the players play.
Right.
Just let them play. If you had to do a split vote or a split group thing, just make one group safe, but everyone still votes.
Yes.
Yes. Just half is safe, but everyone still votes. I think that's fine. We all accept a little too excessive in how many people are safe, in my opinion, but everyone still got to vote. Therefore, it still felt like the merge.
Right. And I guess that is why maybe they gave them the advantage instead of allowing, it to be on the Olavo beach or whatever.
Yeah.
So that at least one of the people that was safe felt like they had a say in the vote that night. But still, overall, it was really stupid. So I've got all that out. I'm good now.
Good.
I won't mention again.
Right,
probably will mention again, but
somebody commented on the episode Rebecca and I did, and they're like, you do too much time complaining. And it's like, not every week. Just this week was too much. Too much was happening. Too much was happening for us to we know what the show can be when they just let players play.
Yes.
And we hate when the show gets in the way of itself.
Yes.
That's really what's happening. So, all right, let's talk about the Survivor 47 fantasy game. We'll put the top people in both groups on screen as we talk. But Mary.
Yeah.
In our fantasy game, which, by the way, you can still join, link in the description for all paid patrons. Mary, you passed me.
I finally cracked the top 10.
You son of a gun. Because you put a bunch of votes on Tiana, right?
I did put 5 votes on Tiana and I put 5 votes on Saul, mainly because of the edit so far, as we've talked about several times. I just felt like they were coming up on their time. But yeah, I felt good about that. I was excited.
You've beaten me by 1 point. I think both of your people are still in the game because you have Rachel and Saul. Good for you. Bully for you. Rebecca over in group 2. By the way, my team in group 2, I know it's highlighted just because that's what it looks like when you log in. Do not count my group 2 team. I know technically they have equal number of points to Mary, but as I've said all season, my group 1 team's my real team. Group 2, I had to make. Throwing it out there.
Yeah, he just keeps those points to know if I'm beating him or not, basically.
Well, Mary, if you really want, I have 2 opportunities, which feels unfair, but if you really want to, Mary, my group 2 team is tied with you. Ooh. But I don't count that. Rebecca over in group 2 has 47 points, so she's lagging behind us a little bit, and her team is Rachel and Sam. Not too bad, though we'll talk about this today. Sam's kind of on the hot seat.
Yeah, he slipped a little bit in my rankings this
Gabe's
week,
on the hot seat too, and that's my only player left in the game.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, your team looks a lot better now. We were like, Saul's not going to win this game, and I'm not saying he's going to win this game, but looks like he's not going anywhere either now.
Yeah, he's pretty comfortable. I mean, I still feel like he will go in the next couple of votes. I don't think he's going to be in the final episode, but he is not doing too bad.
Were you clenching your butt cheeks when Rachel was on the verge of being voted off last night?
I mean, I was more just angry, as we've discussed.
Right.
Because it seems so obvious, and she would have been the vote off last night.
And you're like, my fantasy team's going to get hit, and she didn't even do anything.
Right, yeah, exactly.
All right. Hey, I want to throw this out there. If you all rate us on Spotify and send me a screenshot of the rating that you gave us on Spotify, I will send you a link to an unreleased video that's currently on Patreon. Of course, if you're already on our paid Patreon, you have access to this video. Still appreciate a rating on Spotify. I'm just letting you know. I don't have a secret video that nobody's seen. It is one that's currently on Patreon, just not on YouTube. If you rate us, send me an email. My email's in the description. I will send you one. I'll send you a video. And the deadline for this is by the next episode. If you send it after the next episode, I will not send you an email back. Just heads up. So, because last time I did this, Mary, people were sending me stuff like 3 weeks later. I'm like, deadline's kind of passed on this. Also, the video I was sending people, I believe, is already released at that point. I could be wrong. I was forgetting.
There's no point.
I was like, I could send it. That just feels kind of like a jerk move. Oh, here's the video. It's already been on YouTube. So anyways. All right, let's get into this. We're going to go through every player alphabetically. The chart on the top right shows the number of times people have talked into the camera. It does not show the time people have talked on the camera, which I think is a useful stat, but the person who does that uploads it to Reddit, I believe, on Friday or Saturday, which is after we record this podcast on Thursday. But it is a useful one if you are on Survivor Reddit and you see it. Anyways, that chart shows how many times people talk to the camera. We will talk about that. And the colors show what tribe they were on or in the case I think of last week, like what team they were on. It's
right.
Just the colors are not super important anymore. Everybody who's still in the game is on the purple tribe.
Right.
That's what's important. But what is important is the number of professionals, which we will talk about. All right, Mary, who is our first player alphabetically?
Our first player is Andy.
Andy has moved up in the world.
He has. He moved up. I almost moved him up farther in my rankings today, but I'm still like, I need one more good episode. But it was a fairly decent episode for Andy. He had 5 confessionals this week with a total of 33, and he's tied for second as far as confessionals go. Oh, yeah. If you don't, of people still in the game.
People still in the game. That's all we really care about at the moment for winner analysis.
That's all that matters.
So, Mary, how do you feel about Andy? What made you want to move him up?
Well, so as I was saying, I feel like in this episode, he realizes that maybe he's been a pawn of Sam and Sierra, and he wants to cut that tie. He's a free agent, and we see him talking to Saul. Saul's like, sure, I'll work with whoever, anybody. See him talking to Genevieve. Genevieve wants to work with him. And he seemed like he's just calmed down a little bit. He could have taken this and done a whole another breakdown. Oh my gosh, my best friends out here are trying to get me. Instead, he's going on the offense. He's being logical about it. He's writing names in sand and thinking about it. Like, I don't know how, I couldn't tell what all the names were, but he's still playing the game, and he's not allowing maybe his emotions to overtake him like he did in the first part of the season. So that just builds confidence both as a viewer and as other players. Like, they see him, he got a vote. Oh no, what's he going to do? He's still pretty chill. So that was a really good, he handled it really well. So I liked that. I don't think he's a threat still. I think he's going to be a number that people will want to use. It was a negative for him when he starts to look very obviously, I guess, at the reward for another idol or advantage. And unfortunately,
not a bad idea.
It's not a bad. Like, clearly he was right.
Yeah.
And he tried to check, like, it's just unfortunate that maybe people are keeping a closer eye on him than on Saul.
He's just a messier player.
He is a little bit
Saul's
of a messier
player. Saul's very calm, cool, and collected. Nobody's really looking out for Saul to do something crazy.
Right. So we hear Sierra like, okay, come on, Andy. We hear from Genevieve being, man, I really want to align with this guy, but he's doing dumb stuff like looking right in front of everyone.
Sierra's like, this guy's so messy. And then, yeah, you're right. But I think the point of those confessionals, these are important confessionals to me, is that, sure, while Andy was set up in the beginning of the episode it seemed like at the beginning of the episode to turn on Sam. I know it was portrayed as Sam and Sierra, but if you pay attention, it was like 90% Sam, 10% Sierra, which means Andy, whether he's successful or not, is going after Sam. That's the target for him.
Yes.
Is he going to succeed? I don't know. I actually really don't. I want to say he will, but then again, he has been messy all season, and it wasn't even really his call to get out Annika when he was like, I've been 10 days working towards this. Like, it wasn't really Andy.
That was Sam and Sierra, right?
Yeah. Andy didn't really make that call. If they wanted Andy gone, Andy was gone. So does Andy actually successfully get Sam? We don't know. That's the current. I do like when they set up stuff like this and it's like, okay, it'll pay off later. But at the same time, this episode paid off, and we're not going to talk about her specifically, Tiana, who've been blowing off, by the way, winner analysis week after week, because we're like, yeah, they spent 2 episodes just dunking on Tiana, and this week it paid off. Tiana went, but they had set that up. So it wasn't out of left field, though it felt a little bit out of left field after last week when they didn't dunk on her at all last week. And then this week it was kind of contrived how she went. So it's like they spent 2 episodes dunking on her just to get to a contrived vote off, in my opinion. Anyways, back to Andy. Yeah, Andy, I don't know. It feels like he has potential, and maybe he will be used, but I don't think Andy's going to lead the charge and take the reins and win.
Right.
I'm not getting that sense.
I still don't feel like even if he gets to the end, he will win at this point. But I do think that it is possible he will make it a lot farther than we previously thought. And yeah, I think there is going to be a setup for a Sam versus Andy, but it's going to be Andy and Genevieve, or Andy and Saul, or Andy and old whatever, Lavu. So I think he's definitely going to be a part of the storyline. He might think he's driving some of the storyline, but so far we still see both sides of him, as far as like, he's really trying. You want to like him and root for him, but he's still kind of like
he's a
little bit bumbling. Yeah.
That person we saw in episode 1 is still there.
Yes, exactly.
Keep in mind that person who blew up day 3 in episode 1, this is only 10 days later. People don't change that drastically in a week and a half. He's still the same insecure person he was.
Right.
I don't know what he was writing in the sand, by the way. I didn't catch that.
It was names.
Oh,
I
was
think
it? Okay.
he was listing like who he thought was aligned with whom.
Somebody posted a meme where he's like writing like a hate letter in the sand. I was like, actually, was he? I don't know. I didn't see.
It looked to me pretty clearly like he had like a list of names and then he had names like next to it. Like, okay, so these people are
maybe
like,
it was like
Sam
people he wanted to work with, people he didn't want to or something.
I think he was just trying to organize in his mind because as we've discussed so far, it seems like everyone has just kind of talked to everyone.
Yeah.
And so
travel lines are not that strong this season.
That we've seen.
Yes.
So I think he was just like, okay, let's list everybody who's tight with who. What numbers do I think I could like? Where's the cracks? I think he was being smart. Like I have to do that. I can't do math in my head. I can't I need to write it down. So
Mary, it's true. Whenever I talk to Mary, I'm like, I've run numbers and I can like list out 5 scenarios all in my head. And Mary's like, this is too much.
Yeah, too much information.
I basically do have to kind of, and Mary's smarter than me in a lot of ways, but this is the one area where I'm like, I can have all this out of my head. Mary's like, I need it kind of in front of me to get it. And then I'll lay it out. Mary will be like, here's the flaw in that thing. I'm like, oh, well, that's what I get for keeping it all in my head.
Well, people process things differently. So I think, again, he's using his strengths. He's trying to play hard.
Mm-hmm. He's
seen mostly in a positive light, but yeah, he's still Andy.
Where do you rank him?
He's 5th for me right now.
He is also 5th for me.
Oh, okay.
He's actually, believe it or not, the highest male for me.
Really? I almost moved him above a couple, well, at least one other person, but I haven't yet.
We'll talk about it. There's certain people, I'll get to why this is, but and it's not that I feel great about Andy. It's I don't feel great about the men in general.
Right. There's not many left, as we have discussed. Yeah.
Even though Tiana went tonight and it could have been Rachel, I know both are women. If everybody was able to vote, was a woman going tonight? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think if everyone had the opportunity to vote tonight, men were being targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically Sam.
Probably.
And Gabe, I guess.
Gabe,
I mean, all right. So let's move on. Who's after Andy?
Next is Caroline.
Caroline. Sweet Caroline.
Caroline had 3 confessionals this week with a total of 14. Mm-hmm. She is the lowest confessionals of everyone.
I want to point out that there are 3 people still in the game with less confessionals than Asia, who went out in episode 3.
Wow.
Last season, we were keeping track of the Banu count.
Yes.
Where people went into the finale not passing Banu.
That is
now,
true.
I don't want to compare people to Rome. That's a bit unfair. Rome was a big character and he did make the Mergatory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Mergatory episode, whatever. So we could compare to Rome and be like, it's ridiculous people haven't passed Rome, but no, Rome was a big character.
Right.
Banu had too many confessionals for 4 episodes. Asia had 20 and 3, and there are 3 people who have not passed Asia, which is ridiculous.
And they're still in the game, and they're still major players in the game. Yeah, well,
because Asia was a nobody.
Right.
Like in the grand scheme of this season, she's nobody. She had a bunch of confessionals in the first episode, which boosted her numbers, and that's why we had her so high. But reality is Asia's a nobody in the story of the season, not a long-term factor at all. All right. So Caroline,
right.
What do you think about her? What do you got?
So for this episode, I feel like Caroline is just, from what we're shown of her, it's like she wants to be strategic. When she's talking to Tiana about the vote that night, she's like, yeah, I see how it makes sense to get rid of Gabe. I see the logic in that. And then she even has a confessional saying, Rachel's the easy vote, but I don't want to just make easy votes. Mm-hmm. I want to make smart votes. Yada, yada, yada. But then she still sticks with her alliance. So, I'm sure, in her farther on in her confessional, or things were not shown, she realizes, the easy vote and the smart vote can be the same. Rachel, let's stick together. All we need to do is pull one person over, then we'll have the majority. I think she is being strategic, but all we're shown right now is maybe she's wishy-washy because she's saying one thing to us in the camera. She's saying one thing to Tiana, but then she votes differently.
She's just not really a character in the show.
Right. So, and
who's Caroline?
That's her only content, was talking about the vote. And other than that, we don't hear from her often. We don't know much about her. I'm looking at the wiki right now and I'm like, oh yeah, she's a strategy consultant. I don't know. I don't even remember that. I don't remember. And that could be part of her. I'm sure she's leaning into, I know strategy and I'm going to do this. But sometimes you can know all the things on paper and still not go with your gut. I don't know. I feel like it would have been better for her in the long run to get Gabe out But if she didn't have Kyle's vote, she knows she didn't have Sue's vote. She knows she didn't have Gabe's vote, obviously. If she didn't have Kyle's vote, then what's the point? Yeah.
This whole blue tribe is just unimportant. And it's funny because this episode is all about the blue tribe at the end of the day. But the reality is that they're just unimportant.
Right. We don't know much about them. I was surprised by Kyle's vote. I thought he was going to flip on Gabe. So we don't know much about them. And therefore, that's probably why this was the worst episode.
One of the Caroline is number 10 for me out of 11.
Yeah, she hasn't been skunked yet. So I've talked about this before.
Skunked means 0 confessionals an episode. People have asked. I got to clarify.
Yeah. I have all my skunked people at the very bottom and she's 8th. So she's above all the skunked people. She hasn't been skunked,
but my goodness, who is Caroline?
Right. Yeah.
And we're now 7 episodes into what is theoretically, Mary, a 14 episode season, as people have kind of put the numbers together and like, okay, there wasn't a double boot tonight. To have a final 5, as we've been doing every season, would be 14 episodes. So unless, of course, they do double boot later, it's not impossible. But 14th episode does line up to when Survivor normally has their finale. So anyways, and it makes sense. More money for more episodes. Caroline, number 10 for me. Our rankings are in the description in text form if you want to look at them. Some people do ask about that. Got to mention it. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, and by final 5, you mean final 5 at the finale.
Yeah, the finale in the whole new era has always had a final 5. And before season 41, we would have 6 people going in the finale sometimes, but in the new era, it's always been 5. Like, it's so rigid in their super dangerous game.
I was going to say, we're doing so many new things.
It's so
now.
dangerous.
You
we
never
keep doing
know.
the same things over and over. It's so dangerous. All right, who's after Caroline?
Caroline's 8th for me. Thank you for asking.
You did say that. You said that.
Sorry.
It's all about people who got skunked. I heard you.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Next is Gabe. So Gabe is also previous Tuku member. He had 2 confessionals this week, which I was surprised by. I felt like he was more of a instrumental in the vote and everything. Again, just 2 confessionals. 4 confessionals. I'm looking at the wrong line.
Gabe had a cocky confessional this week.
Oh, he looked so cocky. But sorry, just a second. He has a total of 33 confessionals. Still one of the major players of the show. But yeah, he was definitely painted this week as like, he's the one pulling the strings. He's the little puppet master over on Tuku. Nobody's going to turn against him yet.
It's true. This week, nobody turned against him.
Right. But he's kind of being set up for a takedown, I think. Like they left in that shot of him being all sympathetic and talking to Rachel and buttering her up.
Looking right in the camera.
And then giving her a hug, looking right in the camera, making this face. Like,
I love people looking in the camera. I hope it doesn't get overused, but I do love it because it's like another, what are they thinking? It gives us more of what they're thinking.
No, I agree. And it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that he's clearly being painted as like the villain.
Him telling Rachel he's willing to go to rocks for her.
Oh yeah,
that's got to come back to bite him, right? How can she trust somebody who said that? That is, why even say that's not true? No, that is so insane. You don't know me. You're in a situation where now you're saying, well, I'll go to rocks for you, Rachel. What kind of, like, what is she your fiance? Who is, you don't know Rachel.
Because I don't want to look dumb in front of Sue or Caroline. Yeah, he was going to be Caroline. He said.
It's not real. And Rachel knew it. She's like, it's just too unbelievable. Right. He wasn't like, hey, maybe we get numbers together to do this. Right. He was like, hey, I'm willing to go to rocks for you. And it's like, all right, well, we just met. It's like proposing a marriage. And like, we just met 2 days ago. Like, come on now. Nobody would do that. Nobody would do that.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy.
I mean, if you do that, you need to like take a step back and be like, all right, is this a relationship I should be in? Anyways, I'm talking about for Survivor though. Like, it's kind of like somebody offering you a final 3 and it's like, all right, but like, are you just offering final 3s to everybody? You know, that's kind of like the question you got to ask when somebody just offers you a final 3 and you barely know them. Now I get day 1, people will say stuff like that. And it's like, all right, everything on day 1's kind of like, but here we are, day 13.
Right.
You're going to rocks for me. I'm not in your alliance.
Yeah.
You just met me.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
And
I think it might come back to bite Gabe.
It might. It definitely might. The other thing I noticed about his edit this episode, it felt a little bit like Rome. What Rome got as far as I thought you said you were done with that. He's out.
No, I said I was doing it
just like him talking to every single player in the tribe.
I can't believe you interrupted it. Now I get to do it again.
No, you don't. Talking to every player in his alliance and saying the same thing. Vote Rachel. If she plays her shot in the dark, it's okay. No worries. And like just overemphasizing the fact that he's controlling the group, which I think is interesting. We do have a secret scene of Gabe also. Oh, yes. We should mention. I did not watch secret scenes. I know one of them was Rachel getting her advantage from Saul. So we'll, of course, talk about that when we get to Rachel. So what was Gabe's? Gabe's was simply, and this was before the challenge, but he talks about how he noticed, wow, there's a bunch of girls left and not many guys.
Yep.
And wow, a bunch of girls are sitting over there talking at the tree. A bunch of girls are over there washing. A bunch of girls are going to go get water. So it's showing him again, going to each of the guys saying, hey, let's make sure the girls don't get a woman's thing going. Let's make sure whoever goes next, it's going to be a girl. And a confessional of him saying, I don't have number ones with any of the rest of the guys, but I'm going to make them a priority until we have more even numbers here. So that was basically the whole secret scene. But I think it is important, especially if there is a girls' alliance that comes up later, whether it does or not.
I think the girls' alliance is being set up.
Yes.
Like, it has been set up since the dry hot dog social hour thing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Well, it was Rachel, Teeny, and Caroline who all talked. But really, Teeny's spearheading it. And even in this episode, we haven't got to Teeny yet, but she's kind of spearheading this thought.
Right.
Hey, kill all men.
Yes.
You know, no more men. That was the Black Widow Brigade's thing. Also, Mary, that is not the only time. I know we haven't talked about Teeny yet, but women's alliance in general is definitely about to be a major theme, I feel like. And had this episode just played out in normal fashion, it could have started here. You know, God forbid. Anyways, so even if they had let them all go back to the same beach, that could have been like, that would have been a slight improvement despite all the other, but they split them all up. It's like, all right. Anyways, I know we said we wouldn't do it, but it's like, come on, everything was like designed to be dumb. Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh, women's alliance.
Yeah.
My point with that is, who are we talking about right now?
Gabe.
Gabe is not going to be in the women's alliance.
No.
Obviously, the women seem like they're bound to run the game. I'm not saying a man cannot make Final Three, but oh yes, now I remember. They acted like Black Widow Brigade's the only time the women's alliance has been like successful, and that's not true. There's a women's alliance, obviously, in One World that you and I just watched recently. We have a whole deep dive podcast in that season. And then in San Juan del Sur, the Final Three was all women. Now, it wasn't necessarily a woman's alliance, but it was kind of a woman's alliance.
Right.
But we've never had, and maybe Survivor Africa with Lex, Ethan, and Tom. But even then, Kim got to Final Two. So like a men's alliance has never actually reached Final Tribal. And that I'm talking about season 3 is my most recent example of a men's alliance doing pretty well.
Right.
And that's season 3.
Well, and
it's just kind of crazy. Like women's alliance, like, oh, it just never happens. And when it does, it was only in Black Widow Brigade. And it's like, this is revisionist history. That is not true.
Yes. Well, Black Widow Brigade obviously is very memorable. They have the catchy name. They have the very dramatic tribals, you know, things like that. So I'm sure it's memorable.
And if you count Africa for the men's alliance, Vanuatu, when the women ran the game and let Chris get to the end by stupidity, I will say. The women ran that game too. It was a women's alliance and it was successful. And sure, they didn't win the game at the end of the day, but yeah, they had 99% successful.
Right. Well, and again, we talked about this a lot on this podcast and on others, I think, is that it doesn't, when you try to generalize an alliance strictly based on one aspect of your personality,
a very shallow aspect.
It's probably not going to stick. That's why a lot of times having just a women's alliance or just a men's alliance doesn't work, because that's just one aspect of your personality. Right. And typically strong alliances work for many reasons, not just one. So yeah, you can say that, but you still need to actually want to work with these people.
And by shallow, I mean shallow for Survivor. Like gender, us aligning off of gender is a very shallow way of going about alliances. Alliance is usually built on trust, and people generally want to hang out with.
Right.
I know it's not as focused on, but you don't. This is the reason why some people get voted off. And you're like, how do they get voted off? It's because nobody wanted to hang out with them.
Right.
Nobody wanted to live on the beach with them 24/7. That's a factor.
Right. It really is.
Yeah. So, just being a woman alone is not enough.
Right.
And being a man alone is not enough.
So I think the fact that Gabe was the only one that were shown to be recognizing that there's a woman alliance, and yet that was a secret scene, is that going to be important?
Means it's not important.
Probably not.
So
yes.
Gabe for me is number 8. Took a massive drop.
See, I still have him holding steady at 4. Wow. And I probably,
You'll
I don't know.
pay for your decisions.
No, I feel like he is smart. He's running his tribe. On paper, he's doing a good job.
Up until this episode, he was, yeah.
Well, even this episode, he gets his way, right?
He does, but the storytelling does not seem to be leaning into that.
Does villainify him a little bit, but on paper, again, he's still doing well.
Feels sort of like a beginning of the end for Gabe.
It does. And if he has another bad episode, obviously he'll move down. Yeah. But for right now, he's still 4th for me.
All right, who's next?
It's Genevieve.
Last week we remember we had to we had to go back later and record. No, what about Genevieve? Yeah, Genevieve's next.
It's Genevieve. This wasn't a terrible episode for Genevieve. Sorry, let me do her confessional.
Yeah, what's her numbers?
4 confessionals this week with a total of 20. Still pretty
Genevieve's
far
on the
down.
upswing.
But yes, it was a good episode for her in general. She's shown trying to connect with Andy. She needs a new ally. Rome's gone and she's happy about it, but she wants to make sure that she's in a good alliance. She said she saw Andy's raw moment in the first challenge, and she doesn't think that's indicative of his whole game. You know, she's like, people have bad days. She wanted to connect with him. She wants to have a new number one. So it was just like, it was a nice moment. Them talking on the
Genevieve, really?
Right, exactly.
At the moment, who is spending time to get Genevieve besides Keyshawn, who's gone?
Right. And then I think her only other content really was, she talked about how surprised she did. Like, she was so proud of herself for doing well in the challenge and lasting as long as she did. And she was so happy that she was going to make jury. And then the last thing that she had this episode was being a little annoyed at Andy. She's like, I mean, I just tried to align with this guy and now he's acting a little dumb.
Yeah,
but
what a jerk.
She's still ranked pretty low for me because she has been skunked. She had a 0 confessional episode. And for the most part, like, she comes and goes. She's never consistent in the storyline.
For the first 3 episodes, she had like 40 seconds of confessional time.
Yeah. Not
in the first 5 hours of the show.
Right. Not great. It took me, I think it's till episode 2 or 3 for me to be like, oh yeah, who is this person?
It was literally episode 4 when we're like, Genevieve.
She's Rome's alliance?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I didn't know this.
And then it took literally Teeny being removed from the Red Tribe in terms of like she couldn't vote that episode. And then they're like, all right, well, I guess Genevieve
introduce you to Genevieve.
Let us introduce you to Genevieve.
Which is weird because she seems like, I don't know, her confessionals are great. She speaks well. She's kind. She's strategic. Yeah. I don't get it, but whatever.
She's not ugly. I've seen a lot of comments saying Genevieve's very pretty. I got to mention it.
Yeah, she's pretty. She's
like,
smart.
what is the negative?
She's Canadian. I don't know.
That was it. You nailed it. We nailed it. How dare you?
So yeah,
bring your maple syrup down here to us. Your Tim Hortons.
She didn't move up for me in the rankings yet. I mean, she moved up just because there's only 11 people left now instead of 12. But yeah, I just don't really see her going far. She lacks the content to go far. But her content that she does have is good. I'm not knocking her for anything. Just a lack of content. So
speaking of Canadians, I know I told this to you today, and I might as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, yeah. So last week tonight with John Oliver revealed that the guy, revealed meaning like you could have just Googled this, not some like deep, dark information. The guy who did God Bless the USA, that song that if you grew up in the 90s was on the radio all the time, and even in the 2000s, I'm sure. And I'm proud to be an American. Anyways, he did the same song, but for Canada. So it goes, instead of God Bless the USA, it's God Bless You Canada. And I'm proud to be Canadian. It's like, bruh, are you a dual citizen?
Do you know how many times that happens? Like, that's not like a uncommon thing. I'm just saying.
Mary, are you secretly Canadian? Did you marry me for a green card?
No, I did not.
I think you might have.
Especially with patriotic songs for some reason. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
I'm just saying that's a knock against Genevieve.
Yes. Poor Genevieve.
Poor Genevieve. No, for real though, Genevieve has moved up. She's number 3 for me.
What?
I shot her up the rankings. Now, don't get me wrong.
She's been skunked.
Here is where I'm at. The top 2 for me. I'm locked on. Sam took a dip this week. Sam's been on the verge of taking a dip and I've been holding off. This week kind of committed me to moving Sam down.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I don't think Sam makes the finale.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, these rankings are based on chances of winning. The only knock I have against Genevieve is a 0 confessional episode, which is not unheard of in the history of Survivor. It is unheard of in the new era since Erica, but I cannot sit here and be like, it's impossible. If you look at Genevieve in the intro package, the theme song, we get Genevieve and then a shot of bats. Well, the theme of the season is bats. There's bats everywhere. They cut the shots of bats constantly. Bats is the immunity necklace. So I can't if I'm like, when I'm thinking about somebody, I'm like, I go back to the intro package. I'm like, is there anything here that could be hinting? I mean, that is the theme of the season, bats. Genevieve then chose bats. I don't think it's super strong, But what I am saying is everybody below Genevieve, I'm not super strong on.
Sure.
And I'm like, are there 3 women? Because I do think a woman's winning the season at the rate we're going. Like the storytelling is clearly pro women. Women, men are going down. So it's like, are there 3 women above Genevieve? No, I cannot sit here and tell you that Caroline, Sue, or Rachel should be above Genevieve.
I would argue that Rachel could be above Genevieve.
You could argue it, but I don't buy it.
She's never been skunked and she has an alliance.
Okay. I just don't buy it at the moment.
Okay.
And I'm not saying Genevieve number 3 till the end. I am saying that Genevieve currently number 3 because there's a lot of positive content for Genevieve. But it is, don't get me wrong, those first 3 episodes are the reason I think that she's not winning.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of become a 2-horse race in my mind.
I see the 2-horse race. I do. I agree with you.
And if there's a wild card, I could see a Genevieve. I could see if it was Rachel at the moment, it'd be kind of like, really? Rachel? Like, where's her story at? You know? Anyways, there's a lot of people I'd be like, where's their story at for a winner? I have to go back and reevaluate. And as I've always said, I'm okay with being wrong and being surprised. Yes. I encourage it. If Kyle wins this season, blow me over. What?
He has a bat tattooed on his back, so he has to win. Yeah,
he has to win because of the tattoo.
Yeah.
Anyways, Genevieve for me is number 3. What about Genevieve? Number 3.
9th for me.
You moved her up last week, Mary. You had her at 12th, and people were like, Genevieve at 12th, blasphemy.
I did put her to the top of the skunked people because she's the best of the skunked. But
Mary's holding true on the skunk.
I am.
No, I don't knock you at all for it. Who's next?
Next is Kyle.
Now we're talking Kyle.
Yes.
Kyle for me is number 11.
Bat tattooed Kyle. He's 10th for me, only because he's so much better than.
Who is Kyle outside of his sob story?
He was won 2 immunities back to back.
Well, yeah, and the second one was 3rd place. He got 3rd place and got immunity, but they did a whole ceremony for it, so it doesn't feel like Genevieve and Teeny won immunity.
About that. I know.
No, I'm saying it's important because people's perception is not Genevieve and Teeny won immunity, it's Kyle won immunity. And I think this will affect his target.
Well, Kyle had 2 confessionals this week with a total of 16. I agree with you, by the way. Yes, I agree with you. I think that the fact that he has won immunity twice back to back will increase his target. He doesn't seem to be, sure, he has the Tuku, but the Tuku is obviously going to break up soon. They're going to go their own ways. The women are probably going to go, except for Sue.
You can go your own way.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't think he's in a good spot. I feel like he's a follower. He could have taken the shot at Gabe this episode and he didn't. He did the safe vote. And he has not a lot of content.
That song I sang is a classic by Fleetwood Mac. You know what another classic is?
No.
I playing with the boys.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Rome. But I'm
when
glad.
you least expect it.
Yes.
I will say, Kyle, I think this show is screwing with us. There's so many things that ways are screwing with us. Kyle's one of them. Kyle's the only one with the sob story. Prior to the season, we said you have to have a sob story to win. Thank goodness. One improvement this season has is that outside of Kyle's, there are no sob stories. Thank you. I appreciate that. When I ask, who are these people? I would still be asking that question even with the sob story. Sob story to me, I don't care until this point in the game. Sure, introduce a sob story if you have to do it, only if you have to. Because now I've gotten to know them.
Right.
But in episode 1, I don't know who these people are. Episode 2, I don't know who these people are. Too early.
And it's not necessarily like, oh, I want to know your job and your kids and your wife's name and all that. It's more of like who you are as a person. How do you act around people? How do you interact with people?
Who you are as a person is very important to a winner as well. Who are you as a person in the new era, especially? Kyle has a sob story. Teeny has her name highest in the credits. What were the other ones that are the Matt chats? We didn't talk about, but Annie and Gabe have a Matt chat. And Teeny. Well, we haven't got Teeny. I'm just talking about people so far.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, you're right. Teeny has a Matt chat. Teeny has her name highest in the credits. Kyle's sob story. The show's purposely doing things to throw people off.
Good.
But the keen eye should recognize and see through all the nonsense. And that's what we're here for. That's what I do every week. That's my goal, to see through the nonsense. And by the way, I appreciate the game the show's playing. It is not, I'm glad we moved away from, remember 44 every week? I'm like, yeah, but Jam Jam has Matt Chat. So every week Winter House is like, okay, yes, all this, but Jam Jam has a Matt Chat and the show is being predictable. They have gone out of their way since 45. And I applaud them for doing this, making it hard.
I agree.
Not hard, but harder, because we figured out Dee and Kenzie. They have made it harder. And this season, I'm sitting here and saying who number 1, number 2 are, but if it's not them, amazing. Like, yeah, I'm not like, ooh, it has to be this person. There's no one else. This is not a Kenzie Charlie situation. This is not a D situation or a Jam Jam situation where we're like, it has to be these people. It can't be anyone else. No. So anyways, just want to throw that out there. Kyle number 11 for me. I think the moment Kyle doesn't win immunity, people are like, Kyle's kind of chill. He can win immunities. We got to get him out.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like Kyle? We got to get him out.
And he's part of the 2Q5 that needs to be broken up.
And he won't be hateful towards me if I vote him off.
Right. True.
He's one of the people you can make a big move against that will look good and at the same time won't burn a jury member, because I don't think Kyle will like hold on to that grudge.
Right.
If he even has a grudge.
Right. Well,
that's actually something to consider. If you're going to make a big move, make it against somebody who either A, was never going to vote for you in the first place, or B, is not going to hold a grudge. Those are your ideal situations. Don't burn somebody who could have voted for you.
Right. Well, Kyle's 10th for me, but
yeah. It makes sense. Who's next?
Next is Rachel.
That's right. K to R. We always jump that.
Rachel, who should have been sent home this episode,
Mary's
but wasn't.
doppelganger.
She had 7 confessionals this week, obviously, because of her situation. She has a total of 25, so still sort of middle of the pack for her as far as confessionals.
And it's not negative for her that one of the secret scenes is her getting the advantage, because that was clearly meant to be a surprise for the show, for us, the audience.
Yes.
So that's not a knock against her at all.
Right. No, that's an instance that's a good secret scene because it's information that's relevant to the game and the overall story, and yet you don't necessarily want to know until that moment in Tribal where she reveals it. So no, I'm totally fine with that. And it's what you expect in a secret scene. I mean, oh my gosh, I got this advantage. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do with it? I could do this or I could do this when clearly she's going to just.
Right. And they designed this advantage well in advance. So the block of vote, I guess, it would have been important if it was like a split, like if the group wasn't all Tuku, for example. Let's say it was the group with 3 red and 3 yellow. And the block of vote could have meant something. We need to block one of their votes so we have the numbers since 3-2 vote. Survivor was manufacturing drama, however this episode ended up happening.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, Rachel. I think Rachel's in an okay spot. And by okay, I mean I have her at number 4. So a good spot, I guess. But that's more because I think the women are going to get together. And even if the final 3 is not all women, I feel like the women are about to run the gambit here for a little bit, if not the rest of the season, based on the storytelling. And Rachel's one of those. Currently, who's anti-Rachel? She was only situationally anti this episode.
Right.
Not because people were gunning for Rachel in a general sense. She just got screwed by production. And then saved by production.
Right, exactly.
For Tiana to get screwed by production. What do you think about Rachel?
Well, I think that this episode was a good one for her, even though she was seen to be on the outs. She talked about, before the challenge and everything, she's trying to find a new alliance because she feels like a little shaky with Gata. But she likes the Tuku women. She likes most of the women in the game. She wants to pull in 6 to 8 people and work with them and start. She's like, this is a new day for me, basically. She's got to restart. So that's all of her content until she gets placed on the infamous tribe with just Tuku. And then it's all, I'm terrified. I'm going to go home. What am I going to do? I can't believe these people. Can I believe these people? What do I do? And completely just spirals until she stands up and walks out of tribal. So it's not necessarily bad for her as far as edit, because who isn't going to be a little bit freaked out if they're in that position?
I would be
Tuku?
too. I'd be like, I'd be sitting there going, I can't believe production screwed me. That's really what I'd be saying. I cannot believe this show. Like, I did not have a choice in this. The only choice I had was to win immunity for my whole team. Like, that's a bit ridiculous. Yeah. In the post-merge game, that's a bit ridiculous.
I agree. So I still feel good about Rachel. Like we said, we think that there's going to be an all-women's thing. Everyone seems to like her just really well. And so I think Caroline said something to that effect with Tiana. She's like, yeah, everyone likes her. Everyone wants to work with her. And that's why she's dangerous. But like, other than that, that's the only thing we get for why Rachel might be dangerous. So I
can't believe Rachel, for you, your doppelganger, the one that you like, is actually ranked lower than where I have her. I have her at number 4.
Well, I just feel like right now, I don't see her aligned with anyone except maybe Sierra, but Sierra burned her. So you have to have an alliance to get.
Her alliance is going to be Teeny and Caroline based on the Survivor Social Hour dry hot dog thing.
Except I don't think so, because Caroline just tried to get her out.
Look, that was temporary, okay? Caroline didn't have an option. Tuku wanted her out. What's Caroline going to do?
Yeah, what's more important? Standing around talking about aligning while you're eating a hot dog or a vote at tribal.
Everyone knows a good relationship starts with a dry hot dog.
Yes. Well,
take that for what you will.
Anyways.
All right.
So Rachel is 6 for me.
Yeah.
I definitely could see her moving up. I'm just waiting because it does feel like I said, she's not necessarily connected to anyone and she seems to be reaching. So we'll
Mary,
see.
let's go with true chronological this week. I know the past couple weeks we broke chronological in the names.
True alphabetical.
Alphabetical. There you go. Sorry.
Thank you.
True alphabetical this week. We'll go back to true alphabetical because I don't no longer think it's just those 3. So anyways, because I think we're about to jump to S.
Yes. Sam is next.
Let's go talk about Sam. Give me Sam's numbers.
Sam only had 1 confessional this week.
That is extreme. He had 16 in episode 2. You can see the numbers in the top right.
Mm-hmm. He has a total of 39. He still has the most of everyone left in the game. Of everyone anyways.
Andy wants him out.
Andy does want him out.
Saul threw him under the bus.
Andy's been betrayed. Saul's thrown him under the bus. You know, if he becomes eligible to be voted for, he's going to have votes. That's
the thing. We cannot ignore that. Sam is good in challenges. He could win immunity.
Yes.
I mean, not with Kyle there, apparently, getting 3rd place, but he could.
I don't remember what his 1 confessional was about. I feel like it was something to do with being safe.
I'm sure it wasn't super important.
Probably wasn't. Honestly, the only note I have about Sam from this episode is that when they're all playing baseball on the beach and Saul goes off to look at his advantage, they're playing baseball and Sam strikes out. But Sierra gets a home run.
Exactly.
So the fact that they show you those 2 things, even when something else is going on,
seemingly unimportant.
It's
but if you're looking for it.
Yeah, if you're looking for it, it's just a subtle hint. We think.
Casual audience will overlook this scene. It's what Big Survivor doesn't want you to know, but we saw it.
Well, it's what Big Survivor is putting in the show. It's not
Big
hiding
Survivor
anything.
doesn't want you to know this one little secret, and it's that Sierra hit a home run and Sam got struck out.
Yeah.
Just what I've been saying, I think since, I don't know what episode I started. I put Sierra in my top 3 starting episode 3, but I don't know why I started realizing that Sierra might be the one to topple Sam. Maybe it was like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, probably
maybe
episode 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And this is another example of Sierra's going to topple Sam.
Mm-hmm.
It does not mean that I do think Sierra and Sam could face off in fire as predicted in the intro package. Sierra could just beat Sam in some way, shape, or form. I feel like Sam goes, Sierra is going to be partially responsible.
Yes.
For it. She has not been locked in with Sam wholeheartedly. In fact, there's been times where she's literally said, I am not 100% with Sam.
Right.
Also, Sam is not my boyfriend, my fiance back home, who better be my fiance when I get back home. You know, she is not 100% with Sam, though she is tight with Sam, but she's not 100.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that this was definitely the start of Sam's downfall for me in this episode. Just like
hinted at before.
He all of a sudden just disappeared. And I understand he's on the winning team, so he wasn't eligible to be voted for.
He didn't find the advantage. You know, he had a very chill time on this day in Survivor, whenever that day was. But yeah, it's just, if he was going to be the winner, you'd think to hear a little bit more from him, or not hear as much about, oh my goodness, Sam betrayed me. What am I going to do? Yeah. But then again, it's always nice if he is the winner. Let's say he is. It's always nice to have some content where it's like, we're against the winner. We want to get him out. And then the winner ends up toppling whoever was trying to oppose them. So the winner's not meant to just have an easy go for 13 or 14 episodes and just cruise to the end and win. That's boring.
Opposition is good. Yes. No, I get that. I do get that. But like, he just disappeared this episode. He was almost like Genevieve. It's just like, what's Sam doing?
What about Sam?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the same ring as What About Genevieve, though. No. Sam, for me, is number 6. That is the lowest he's been all season for me. He's still 3rd for me because, like, you can have one bad episode. But if it wasn't preceded by episodes of people kind of like putting chinks in Sam's armor, I wouldn't have moved him down. But there were episodes where chinks have been put in his armor. I've been holding off. I'm like, all right, nothing's happened yet. This episode, something happened. It hasn't, of course, nothing has happened, but storytelling, something has happened.
No, I see that. He's still 3rd for me. We'll see. Obviously, if there's another episode like this, I would have to move him down, I think.
Yeah, well, let's see how episode 8 plays out when theoretically everybody can vote for everybody.
Right.
What are the odds? Okay, dear Maria, count me in. Who is next?
Next is Sierra. So Sierra only had 2 confessionals this week. She only has 18 confessionals total, which, again, I feel like every week that number surprises me. She's had 2 for every episode except episode 4 when she had 6.
Is this a sign that she can be 2nd place?
Maybe. I don't know.
That would be wild.
That would be
like,
wild.
we were telling you the whole time. Well, but then the 6 in there kind of throws things off. But yeah, it's very consistent.
Sure.
They always, and these confessionals, I remember them both.
You remember them
One
both?
is dunking on Andy, and the other one was, I say this and then here I am struggling with the other one.
No, I wrote them both down.
Thank
so
you.
I remember because
okay,
Sierra.
good. Yeah, I
No, the
remember
other
them
one
both.
was-
I'm having Mary say it for me because I definitely remember them both.
The other one was her just saying, oh, we're all sitting around chilling. And then Genevieve brings up tree mail. I'm like, that was it.
Right. But here's the thing. That was unnecessary content to give her.
Of course it was.
Unnecessary.
Of course.
It was necessary to get the confessional from Rachel that we got, the confessional from Tiana, because they were going to be, without realizing it, the targets this episode. So I even thought about that. I'm like, weird that we're hearing from Tiana and Rachel out of all people right now. But then Sierra, I'm like, no, that makes sense. Because we're on to you, Sierra. Sierra's like out, by the way, Sierra's at home like, I know I've won $1 million. Just let's say she's won. I know I've won $1 million. Just everyone was around hunting. We're like, whoa, did Sierra win? She's like, it's only $600,000 after Obama takes. All right. So got to include all the references at some point. Do you know Sammy was only 19 years old? Anyways, Sierra, what other things besides her 2 quality confessionals do we have for her this week? We have the home run. We already talked about that.
We have the home run and we have her catching Andy. We've already talked about both of those things.
Everything from her was quality and important.
Sure.
Nothing was fluff.
Sure.
Like, and if it was fluff, it's important fluff. And I know there's so many people who are like, I don't get Sierra. And I agree. 18 confessionals on paper does not make sense. That is less than Asia on paper. Like what? But the quality of her content, the consistency, and she has a story. She is a character. We know her strategy. We know where she stands. We know what she thinks about every one of her alliance members. Right? We know where she stands. Like, we are not confused at all about Sierra in any aspect. I know who she is. I know where she's at. I know what she wants to do. I know like where is Sierra going? That's the question. I think first place. The intro package has her, and the intro package is always introduced in the 3 seasons now. If let's say Sierra wins, has introduced a new winner hint. The first season with 45, it was D with the highest name. The next season, it was Kenzie having the Gold Survivor logo right after her. And then Liz was right after the Gold Survivor logo. So it was kind of like a dumble. Like it was a hint, but also a joke because Liz was rich.
Right.
Haha. But not really. That was her thing. I'm rich secretly. Not goes to Applebee's every Wednesday. And then this season, it's the showing the woman holding the torch, cutting to the wide, and then Sierra lighting fire, looking joyful and gleeful. Like that is this season's if Sierra is the winner. So then when it comes to 48, it's like, okay, we can't be looking at old hints if Sierra is the winner. Can't look at old hints. We got to look at the new ones. Right. Because Hunter's name was the highest in 46, but he went out in the middle of the game. So that didn't mean anything. In this season, Teeny's is a noticeable difference in height from D's. It is not, I did not have to pull a measuring tape and go, is this different? No, it was like, you can put your finger on it and see that like, it was noticeable is my point. Because some people have said it's close enough. And I'm like, no, it's not close enough. It is like Teeny's second place close enough if it's that close enough. Like, that's how I feel.
Close only counts in hand grenades and
hand grenades and horseshoes. Exactly. And we're not playing either of those games. Can you imagine Survivor's like, this episode, we're introducing hand grenades.
I mean, they've shot like cannons before, bows and arrows.
Yeah, like the modified carnival guns that look like machine guns. Yeah, next episode, hand grenades that would be an interesting reward challenge. Not actual hand grenades, paint grenades. I don't know how they would implement that. Whoever gets the least amount of paint on them wins.
Yeah, that's so arbitrary.
And I don't know how they'd set up the hand grenade challenge, but that would be awesome. Come on. Somebody heard that one. You know what? I don't know how that would work, but I would want to watch that. Does that not sound better than, all right, run through this obstacle course, get puzzle pieces along the way, and at the end do a puzzle? Yes, the hand grenade challenge with paint sounds way more interesting, Mary. Thank you for that idea.
Maybe it's you have to get as much paint as you can on a target.
Who are we talking about again? The future winner of the season?
Sierra,
number 1 for me.
She didn't have a lot of content, but she's still number 2 for me. I definitely see why she could be the next.
For those asking about why Sierra, you can listen to our previous week's winner analysis. That's where we give specific. You just listen to just the Sierra section of every week and get caught up to where we are now. I mean, everything I gave this week was very shorthand. Sierra is who is right now in the most perfect position in terms of a winner story. The remember though, Jeff has stated multiple times on the On Fire podcast, which we know is basically the gospel and the Bible, is that the winner's edit does not exist, even though there's 46 seasons of evidence.
Right.
Proving otherwise. The winner's edit does not exist. We all know this. It's basic knowledge.
Right. I think you put it really well when you said, like, we know what Sierra thinks about her alliance, each person in her alliance. We know probably like who she would vote for next.
We know
or
who
whatever.
she is.
We know who she is as a person in general versus like Sue.
Who the heck is Caroline?
I mean, Caroline would be better because Sue's a character.
There, you know
yeah. Well, you probably do know a little bit, but like, yeah, if you had to answer 5 questions about Sierra and 5 questions about Caroline, who do you think you would get? And then it's just like,
without using outside of the game information. You have to use only what's in the show because that's how you analyze the winner. You can't go, well, in preseason and exit press, I hate listening to exit press during the season because it just throws you off. Like you cannot listen to it. Also, Rome, I will say the only thing that's been useful at exit press this season is Rome did hint at Tiana going this week.
Oh, really?
And that did kind of influence because I'm like, Rome's the kind of person who would.
And you didn't put all your votes in Tiana?
No, I put 5.
No.
I was with you. We're on the same page.
I put 5 and I still beat you somehow. Oh, because of
you got more
other
points from your team. Your team's you got your whole
I was thinking it was just the voting that mattered.
No, dude, I looked at the split in the groups, and then Rome was hinting at Tiana and Express. It's like the only Express I listened to because somebody said this. Somebody's like, yeah, Rome was hinting at Tiana, and I'm like, okay, and I went and listened to it. I'm like, Rome is the kind of person to do this, wouldn't he be? Like, wouldn't he? I can't listen to Tiana's and like Tiana's ain't gonna probably not spoiling who's going next week,
right?
But Rome would be the kind of person to be petty enough to give that something like that away. So definitely did influence, but I hate the influence of exit press in general. That's what I mean for analyzing the winner.
Sure.
Like if Rome hinted at Sierra winning, I'd be like, man, Rome really is giving everything away.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
That'd be wild.
I'm sure that wouldn't be allowed. But anyways.
I would hope not.
All right. Sierra's still 2 for me.
Rome shouldn't know anyone who makes the jury. I mean, he knows who makes the jury. He shouldn't know theoretically on paper, Rome knew Tiana wasn't going to go to the jury because they're all on the pre-jury trip together / just coming back to America or Canada. If you're from Canada, Rome would know that they would all flown back together.
Right.
I mean,
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Sierra, second for me, 1 for you.
Why isn't Sierra number 1 for you? What is holding you back?
Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about number 1.
Okay, that's fine. All right, who's next?
Next is Saul. Saul had 6 confessionals this week with a total of 23.
Saul had I think Saul had important content this week. Of course, him finding the advantage helped.
Yeah.
But I think Saul had important content this week. And he didn't even need Roam if you want to roam around the world to make it happen. Right. There it goes. I told you it was going to happen.
I know.
Were you expecting it during Saul's segment?
No.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good episode for Saul. Even without the advantage, I think, just him trying to connect with Andy and about why he wrote his name down. And he had a good reason. I mean, obviously Sam was the one that brought up Andy's name first, so that's a good reason. But yeah, he just handled it well, like he does everything basically. And that's mainly his content until we get to him finding the
Andy wasn't
advantage.
Mad at Saul.
No, he really wasn't.
Isn't that crazy?
He was at first.
No, but Saul calm, cool, collected, got that off his back.
Smoothed everything over really well.
Really well.
Mm-hmm. And he's now they're alliance members apparently. According to Andy.
Saul tried getting him out of the game, and Andy's like, I can work with this guy.
Yeah, I can work with this guy. Basically. But I think Saul genuinely would want to get rid of Sam and Sierra. I think he's genuine when he tells Andy, I will work with you to help get rid of the rest of Gata. Like, I think that was real.
It's like a temporary alliance. Right. It's not like a final 3.
Right. And that's all he said. He wasn't promising final 3. He wasn't saying, let's go to the end. He said, I'll work with you to get rid of Gata. So, yeah, it was really good situation there for Saul. And then he finds the advantage, and it was kind of funny to see it right after Andy because, Andy, they didn't do that much differently. Like Saul gets up and walks around. Andy kind of got up and walked around. Mm-hmm. They didn't really do anything differently. I think it was just all timing. Like Saul waited until he knew everyone was asleep or resting or whatever, distracted.
Also, nobody suspects Saul.
Exactly.
It was Saul all along.
Mentioned that.
Nobody suspects him.
And then, yeah, I think his one negative was I do think he overplayed it a little bit at Tribal. Like, if you were able to be the audience and see everyone's face, like clear, and I know we know, but like clearly Saul's face is like overacting just a little bit.
What? I mean, he was playing the old man energy well. What?
Yes.
I didn't understand or hear what.
Right.
Of course, nobody's looking at Saul. They're all blown away by what's happening in front of them. So Saul acting is just in case somebody's looking at Saul.
It's for Tuku and Rachel. I mean,
in case somebody's looking at Saul.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think he's still in an okay spot. I don't know who he's aligned with at this moment besides maybe Andy and Teeny, but Teeny's never really wanted to work with him that much. I think that he will go soon.
Well, he's not a girl, so.
Right, exactly. Teeny really wants to get with the Women's Alliance. I think she's targeted Saul before. I'm trying to remember. And we haven't seen him really connect with anyone yet. So I don't, again, he's kind of just on the bottom for me. He's 7th. He could move up, I guess it's possible, but I don't really see it.
Same with Kyle. Kyle and Saul seem like 2 alliance members who aren't going to cause drama that I would definitely want to pull in, even if they aren't part of whatever my reasoning is for my alliance. I'll be like, these are 2 people I might be able to pull in, Kyle and Saul.
Clearly just chill and loyal. I mean, Kyle did get upset about Rome, but dude,
like, who wasn't getting upset about Rome?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so we're ranking Solomon. Solomon for me is number 7.
7 for me also.
All right, who is next?
Next is Sue. Sue had 0 confessionals this week. And she has a total of 25.
That is darning evidence.
Yep.
On Sue.
Really, the only thing I remember coming out of her mouth the whole episode is when she's whispering to Gabe at Tribal, Tiana wants to vote for you, just so you know. Like, clearly Sue's his little lap dog who will tell him everything, do whatever he wants. Like, I don't know. It just, she was a big character as far as I'm a pilot and I'm not really 45 years old, but they don't know that. And like, funny.
Sue's our meme
and she was a meme. But then this episode, she's nothing, even though she goes to Tribal.
Even though she's one of the 4 eligible, even though she wanted Tiana off in the pre-merge when they were all dunking on her. And then this episode, Tiana does go and we get nothing from Sue.
Right. I think even when Gabe's telling her to vote for Rachel, it was probably just like, there was no like, well, what if she plays a shot in the dark? Because Kyle brings up, what if she plays a shot in the dark?
What if this is disrespectful to me, Gabe? I'm a pilot.
Really no content for Sue. She's 11th for me because, I mean, she got skunked, so she had to move down to the skunk category. And then out of the other 2 people left, Genevieve and Kyle, I just think both of them have a better shot than Sue at winning the game. So yeah, not much there for Sue, unfortunately.
No, this week was a bad look for Sue.
She does still have her idol.
She does have her idol.
But
it wasn't even mentioned in passing, despite being one of the 4 eligible. She wasn't like, if I need to, I'll play my idol tonight.
True.
That's something you would at least minimum heard from a winner. That's not what we heard. So Sue for me is number 9.
11.
Wow. Okay. All right. I can't even knock you. Like, it is consistent that Sue is not super important to the storyline. She is aligned with Caroline, who's also not important overall. So who is next?
Our last player is Teeny.
Oh, gosh. I forgot. Now she's our last player, huh? Yeah, because Tiana's gone. Teeny, Mary.
Teeny had 3 confessionals this week. She has a total of 31. So Andy, Teeny, Sam, and Gabe are the only people who have over 30 confessionals. So far.
Teeny.
Just letting you know.
Here's the thing with Teeny. When isn't it about Teeny?
Exactly.
Also, who is Teeny as a person, though? That's still my big question. We've had no personal content outside of she picked her own clothes. Personal content. Who is Teeny?
I disagree a little bit. Okay. Like, I feel like we have gotten some personal content from her. I mean, this episode basically opens with Teeny talking about how she feels really good, even though Rome, one of her previous trimates, has gone home because she doesn't feel like a target.
That's strategic content.
It is strategic, but she's talking about her emotions. She's talking about how happy she is. And then she follows it up with, I'm so happy that we used the amulet, again, strategy, but it's gone. I don't have that target.
That's strategy.
I'm happy that I get to be on the jury. I know, I understand it's all game stuff. I know, but that's still part of your personality is like,
sure.
I'm excited the way my game is going.
It's not too late to flesh her out with more character moments.
Right. No, she still has so many opportunities. Like this is why I cannot move her down because despite being on the winning tribe, so she wasn't eligible to be voted for, despite not finding a reward or an advantage or an idol or whatever at the reward, we still have 3 confessionals from her, which is not a lot. I understand, but we still hear her talking at the reward.
Quality.
Hey, what, now that the amulets are being played, you guys think there'll be another idol or advantage out there? Which is smart.
Right.
And I think she also brought up, who do you think is going to go home? And Sam said Rachel, or I'm worried about Rachel.
Right.
You know, we hear her talking about the Women's Alliance. It's just, I still can't move her down. And it's not because she had a match chat. It's not because her name's highest on the screen.
These are things to consider.
Which are things to consider. It's simply that she's so well liked. She's connected to everyone. Like literally, who has
dislikes Teeny?
I have never really seen her have a one-on-one with Andy, with Sue.
Caroline?
Maybe no. She talked to
Rachel,
Caroline and Rachel at the reward. I'm not saying one-on-one just them. I'm saying like, do I remember her ever talking to this person, right? In a group or whatever. Like really, Sue and maybe Genevieve and Andy are the only ones I can't think of off the top of my head. But like, she's so well connected and we hear from her all the time. It's like a joke. We start the episode usually with Teeny.
Teeny.
I would be shocked if every episode didn't start with Teeny in the first 2 or 3 minutes.
This episode started with Andy.
Sure.
That's all.
But then immediately Teeny.
Teeny.
No, it started with Teeny.
Did it start with Teeny?
Immediately, it was Teeny was the first words out of her mouth. And she says, nobody knows that, or everybody knows that Saul was the only one that voted for Andy.
Right.
Cut to Andy having their conversation on the beach. So yeah, Teeny introduced that to us.
No, I'm with you. Teeny is super important. She's number 2 for me. And if Sierra ever gets voted off, Teeny shoots number 1. And I just hold that. I'm holding that.
I feel the same way, obviously, if Teeny gets voted off. And I could still see if Sierra's
voted off, you feel what? Sierra shoots number 1?
Sierra shoots up.
Sure, either way.
And I also feel like even if Teeny doesn't get voted off and it's Teeny and Sierra at the end, Sierra wins. But I feel like Sierra has such a larger target. Final 3? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I feel like Sierra won't make it though because she has a target. Like she's a bigger threat.
My concern is that I think Teeny won't make it for the same reason you're saying. I think so. We're thinking the same thing about a different person. I'm thinking Teeny will not make final 3. I think Teeny misses final 3, gets it to 5 or 4, and is the fallen angel final boss. The person that people were like, Teeny would have won had she just made final 3. And Sierra won instead.
Yes, I can definitely see that storyline happening.
That's because it happens. I see happening.
That happens frequently, and I could see that for sure. But I don't know. I just still have her as number 1.
I'm not knocking you. Number 2 for me, quality content, constant content. Teeny. Confessional count is not truly representative of the quality because we should just rank people by confessional counts. Well, Asia shouldn't have gone 3rd.
Yeah.
You know, Sam should be number 1. He has the most. Or Rome should have been like number 2 or number 1 because Rome had like the most or the second most for a long time.
Right.
Like it's not the number of confessionals, is the quality and the screen time they get. And what's the importance of their screen time? You know, is it circumstantial or is it, we didn't have to do this, but we did anyways.
Right.
And Teeny gets, we didn't have to, but we did this anyways, screen time a lot. That's what I say about Sierra. It's like, do we have to hear from Sierra about this? No, but we did.
Right. No, and I get it. I feel like they're pretty equal.
Sierra's content, and this only because her and Teeny to me are a 2-horse race at the moment. Sierra's content for me is like, they're keeping in our minds at all times, and she might break out here. Like, it is not ideal time to break out in episode 6 or 7.
No.
Too early. Right. I remember Nick in Dave vs. Goliath's like, it's kind of early to be making this big move here. The episode after the merge, or it was the merge episode, was one or the other. He's like, but I have to. Even though he knew on paper, this is too early to be breaking out and making myself a target, but he had to make the move and he did. So yes, on paper, the best time to break out and become the biggest character, the biggest target on the board is around episode 10. In a 14 episode season, I would still say 10. Around episode 10 is about the time to break out and become like oh my gosh, this person the whole time, and now it's too late. They've set up all their ducks in a row and I can't do anything about it. You know, that's the kind of situation we're looking for. In episode 7, I'm not too concerned about neither Teeny or Sierra really on paper having done anything on paper.
Right.
They haven't really done anything, but in the story, they're so important, both of them.
Right.
And that we can't overlook. And that's why we're so high on both of them.
You could argue Sierra was the determining factor of the Annika vote.
Sure.
But
in terms of will the jury care about that?
Yeah, who cares about that? Yeah.
Is the jury going to be concerned about that? No.
Right. Exactly.
Like, oh, the Annika vote, you orchestrated that? Okay, well, how could I not vote for you to win?
No, I agree.
Yeah. Anyways, that's everyone, Mary.
That is everyone.
We've ranked everybody. We will see you all next week for episode 8. Rebecca and I will be here on Wednesday. Mary and I will be here on Thursday. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. You can listen to all these podcasts early and ad-free, and you can download them. So I don't know if I mentioned that every week, but I should. Link in the description. All right, we'll see you all next time. Bye.